Hello and welcome to episode 14 of the Man and Music Show with me, Toby Allen, the podcast where we talk to MENA musicians and music industry leaders to find out real life strategies to solve real time issues within today's music landscape. In this episode, I sat down with UAE-based hip-hop artist Swerte. Swerte was born in Indonesia and claims Swiss Indonesian heritage. He found success early on forming a breakout rap group called the Southsiderz in Indonesia during the late 1990s. He then went on and founded and established The Recipe in Dubai in 2008 as a collective of MCs. The group quickly became one of the most recognizable faces for hip-hop in the region and is now considered a pioneer in the region's hip-hop scene. With a constant stream of music released over the years through their own label, The Recipe has opened for artists such as Snoop Dogg, Skepta, Macklemore, 50 Cent, De La Soul, Cypress Hill, Akon, Stormzy, and many, many more. In this episode, we talk about his love of music, how Swerte made sometimes the wrong choices but bounced back to be the artist he is today, the power of social media, and how being an English rapper in an predominantly Arab-speaking region is. I hope you enjoyed the show, so let's jump right in. So welcome to the show, Lucky. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I'm really looking forward to this. So let's just get right into it. So do you want to introduce yourself? Where are you from and what do you do?
So my name is Luki. I go by the artist name Swerte. I'm a sound engineer, musician, creative advisor, record label owner, part of The Recipe. I'm Swiss Indonesian and I live in Dubai.
There's quite a mix there.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. I juggle very many hats.
Yeah, it's hard work at times, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's kept me busy this past 2020. You know.
Yeah, I was going to say, how did this last year affect you? All things good?
Yeah, it actually gave me time to do things that I had not done before, that I've always planned on doing. And it was great to finally be able to do that stuff without all this unnecessary distraction, which I only found was unnecessary once we got into the lockdown. And it was like, I had time to reflect. I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't need to do all of that stuff that I felt like I had to do. So yeah, it was nice.
Fantastic. Going back to when it all started for you, were you always into rapping, or how did you get into music when you were early age? Did you want to be a musician when you were at school?
Yeah, I was about, 7, 8 years old. And I think what made me, I guess, infatuated with music specifically was watching my brother compete in a marching band competition. So he was part of the marching band in his school that did like they're the ones that they don't just play music and walk in a line. They do those whole formations on the field, on the football pitch and stuff. And every year, all the big high schools around Indonesia would meet in the capital in Jakarta, and there would be the national competition for marching band. And I went to go watch him for the first time, and it was in this huge stadium, and it was full of all these people that had come from all over Indonesia to support, their marching band from their school. And the atmosphere I was so amazed, the loud music, all the people, and it was just like, oh my God, this is awesome. And I think that was what sparked my interest in music and sound. Yeah.
Yeah. So was he an influence, or was there anyone else in Indonesia that was an influence that got you into rapping, so to speak? Because that's your main genre, isn't it?
Yeah. So my brother, he used to play guitar at home when he wasn't, practicing tuba. Tuba's a little bit, annoying to be rehearsing at home. So he would play the guitar. And he showed me how he would record music on our little cassette deck stereo. So he would plug into the little microphone input on the stereo, and he would record onto one tape cassette, and then he would play what he recorded on tape cassette on deck A, and then record onto deck B, but then play along with that, play along with what he had just recorded. And he would keep layering, going back and forth between deck A and deck B. And then I loved this idea. I was like, oh my God, we can make music on our stereo. And in high school, I had friends that were coming from the States, and they were bringing like hip hop singles and CDs that, you would get the single and then the next track would be the instrumental. And, I borrowed a CD from someone and took it home. And I was like, okay, I don't know how to play guitar, but I wonder if this works. So I played this from the CD, the instrumental, and recorded onto deck A cassette, and started, plugged a microphone into the mic input and just started. Well, it wasn't a microphone; it was a headphone. I used headphones as a microphone, and just recorded my voice just to test it out. And then I was like, oh my God, this actually works. So I started trying to write raps. And I started just recording at home, like my own songs, and layering my vocals exactly like how my brother was layering, his guitars on cassette, and just taking it to school and showing it to my friends. And then they enjoyed it. And then at the talent show, when the talent show came up, I was like, okay, I'm gonna perform my song, and I went and I performed my own version of Gangsta's Paradise at the talent show with my own lyrics, just to the instrumental of Gangsta's Paradise, and everybody really liked it. And I really enjoyed, I guess, the attention and the atmosphere on stage, because it just reminded me of that experience I had watching my brother in his marching band competition. And it kind of just took off from there. I started hanging out with people in the hip hop scene in Indonesia, b-boys and graffiti artists and rappers. And back then in Indonesia, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for rappers to really perform. And the only way that you got a chance to perform was actually at competitions. But they weren't freestyle battle competitions. It was more like song performance competition. So, you would just go up and cover, House of Pain or Cypress Hill or, Coolio or whoever was, big at that time. And, the judges would just judge you based on your delivery, how good your, persona was on stage. And if you were in a group, like how well you gelled together and stuff. So I started doing that. I started doing my rounds, competing in these competitions. And the first two that I entered, I actually won first place. And I guess that gave me a real boost of confidence at the time that, I should do this. At one of the competitions, one of the judges that was there was a pretty big Indonesian R&B singer. She was a TV personality, radio host, and she also did music. And she liked our performance so much that she said, "Hey, I'd like you guys to open for me, when I perform." So me and my group, we started going on tour with her around Indonesia. This is all when I'm like 14, 15, 16 years old,
I was just about to say, how old were you? So this is fascinating.
All of this was happening between the ages of 14 and 16, 17. I can't remember exactly what year it was that we went on tour with her. Being a teenager in Indonesia into music, it's very easy to get pulled into the intoxication side of things. So a lot of it is kind of in a blur for me.
Yeah,
but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Yeah,
and that impressionable at the age of 14 to 17 to be asked to go on tour.
yeah.
I wanted to actually just quickly go back and ask what were you writing about? What were your inspirations at the age of 14, 17?
I thought I was a gangster. I thought I was a gangster. You know, I thought I was a little hood rat running around the streets of Jakarta.
Yeah.
You know, in my big baggy pants and rocking chains and stuff, with my crew. You know, we rolled deep and heavy everywhere we went, going to all these clubs, and you know, I was definitely enjoying the attention that I was getting from people. You know, winning those two competitions really put me and my group in the spotlight, and people recognized us, and you know, I guess respected us because we just came in and from out of nowhere and won these two competitions, and you know, over people that had done this for a while at that time. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I thought I was the shit. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear.
That's
I thought I was the man. You know, I thought I was a man. I thought I was a little hard gangster going around, gangster rapper, and so I was writing all these imaginative things that I thought I wanted to be at that age. You know, I thought I was the next Tupac and Snoop Dogg of Indonesia.
How did you set your goals? What did you aspire to? You said you just wanted to be Tupac, but did you have any plan in place when you were younger, or did you were wrapped up in the moment?
I was definitely enjoying the moment. And then it got to a point where a lot of my friends were getting signed and were putting out, you know, commercial albums. Cause this was like in the mid 90s, 96, 97, 98. And I was just watching everyone getting signed. Now I hold a Swiss passport. So even though I was born and raised in Indonesia, I'm not Indonesian, but everyone that I hung out with at that time was Indonesian. So it was a bit frustrating at that age, you know, having done all these things and you know, getting the opportunity to go on tour with Dewi, the R&B singer. Her name is Dewi Sandra. You know, playing with her and winning these competitions and playing in all these big you know, at these big opportunities. And it just got to a point where I was like, okay, well, now what? Everyone else is getting signed, but I'm not. And whenever I asked why, the reason was, well, because you're not Indonesian, you know? And that was really frustrating. And I wanted to just prove myself to everyone that I was the best thing there, and, you know, kind of make it undeniable that like it shouldn't matter that I'm Indonesian. I'm the best thing in this country. And that was my goal and my ambition at that time. But it just seemed like no matter what I did, it wasn't going to happen. And obviously, being a young teenager, my patience was really, really thin. And I guess a combination of all that frustration and impatience led me down a dark hole of, you know, consuming things that I really shouldn't have been consuming.
Yep.
And then I guess that gave the record label owners another reason not to sign me, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then eventually my father decided that I should leave Indonesia and spend my last year of high school in Switzerland. And that cleaned things up for me. I guess that was a good break. And I got to reflect on things. And that's where, as a musician, I guess I stopped boxing myself into this thing that I really wasn't. you know. The music that I was getting from the United States was all this gangster rap, because that's what was big at the time. But after leaving Indonesia, I realized, well, you know, I'm not a gangster. That just happened to be the music that was available to me at the time. But now that I'm in Switzerland, you know, I had all this other music to listen to, you know, and I had access to, and I was just like, okay, well, I identify more with this, actually, you know. And so I started experimenting more. I started a band. I started, you know, playing other music besides just rapping. Spent a lot of time in the band room at my school, where there was a 4-track recorder on cassette tape, which obviously I was, you know, very familiar with. I was like, cassette, I know how to record on this. Yeah, well, you know, if I wasn't studying or playing basketball, I was always in this band room just jamming with other students. And when I got, that was my senior year, I could get extra points at school if I taught an afternoon class. So I convinced my school to allow me to bring a PlayStation to the school, because in Indonesia, I actually learned how to make beats on this PlayStation program called Music 2000. And so I said to the school, like, I'd like to do an afternoon course for students where we make music, and I teach them how to record on a 4-track and write songs, and we can make the songs on the PlayStation. And they liked the idea. So I started, I made a mixtape in this school with a bunch of students, everyone making their own song and collaborating together. And we were making music on PlayStation and recording it onto the 4-track and recording their vocals on the 4-track. We did everything on that 4-track. Towards the end of the year, I think it was my science teacher. He goes, you know, you're really into this whole recording thing. I downloaded this program on my computer that I think you'd really enjoy. So he's like, come check it out during one of the breaks during classes. I'm like, all right, fine. So I went to his office, and he showed me Cubase. And I was, at that time, at that age, I was just like, what is, like, you can record on a computer? Yeah. What the hell? You know, like, I was amazed by it. And I guess for that last term, instead of hanging out in the band room, I was always bugging my science teacher if I could just hang out in his office and make music in his office on his computer. And yeah,
it sounds
from
like
there.
Sorry, I was just about to say. So it sounds like music was actually a savior as well as also a demise as an early age.
It definitely was. It definitely was. I always refer to the studio as my fishbowl, because you know, they say how goldfish have like 5-second memory. I don't know if that's a myth or if it's true, but I kind of like that idea. And I was like, well, the studio is my fishbowl where I go to forget, you know, my problems and my issues and sort of the outside world. So that's why I call the studio my fishbowl. It is my therapeutic place. And you know, it's where I spend most of my time. You know, my bedroom is a studio. I work at a studio. If I'm not at work, mixing for the television and stuff, then I'm, you know, with the recipe guys making music, or I'm with Tack making music with him, or I'm sitting in on other people's recording sessions or writing sessions and just helping them brainstorm ideas and stuff. You know, whether technically with the studio equipment, you know, with recording techniques and whatever, or just with lyrics and concepts and stuff. Like, it's just where I really like to be.
Amazing. So moving on, when did you come to Dubai?
I came to Dubai in 2006. So I'd lived for 4 years in Manchester, where I got my certificate in sound engineering, and I got Pro Tools certified. And then I came here in 2005 on holiday, saw the opportunity that was Dubai, quickly went back to Manchester and saved as much money as I could working for Subway. And 3 months later, I moved to Dubai, and I've been here ever since.
So how does the MENA rap scene compare with the global one?
Oh, man. You know, the grass is always going to be greener on the other side. Yeah. Like, I think every scene has its own positives and negatives, right? Mm-hmm. And we can sit here and a lot of people will be like, oh my God, we don't have this. It's not developed. There is no scene. There is no. But then, you know, I go back home to Indonesia and they're all like, oh my God, like, you know, things look so amazing in Dubai. I can't believe that you're doing all these things. It's exciting. There's, you know, that festival that you played at in December, Soul DXB, that looks amazing. You know, you got to hang out with all these rappers over there and stuff. And, you know, we saw that you were with, you know, at Spotify doing that course, you know, meeting with Spotify and whatever. And they're like, you know, they think things are amazing over here. And whereas when I'm sitting here, I'm looking at Indonesia and I'm like, oh my God, Indonesia is amazing. So I truly believe that there is a scene here. Mm-hmm. I think we all just think about it too much and try to define it, you know, but I've always looked at it as, I think Kurt Cobain would have really liked Dubai. Yeah. Because Dubai, I think, is always going to be the underground heaven of music and creativity. You know, the amount of times I've spoken to people that have been here for a while and they talk about, you know, 2000, that era from 2008 to 2011. And then there was that era between 2011 and 2015. And then there's that era between 2015 to 2017, 2018. Like, Dubai has all these little eras of when the next group of people that graduated from AUD and all the universities suddenly become the hot thing in Dubai. And they're the new musicians, they're the new DJs, they're the new creative people that are like, you know, terrorizing all the brand social events in Dubai and making noise and annoying all the older people with their nonsense and stuff, you know. Like, Dubai is always going to be that, and I think that's what keeps it exciting, you know.
I think that's very well said. So tell me about your involvement with the recipe, because that's how I got to know you, not knowing that you had a lot of other hats. So do you want to just explain what the recipe is?
Well, the recipe kind of was the next version of what I did in high school with the mixtape. I came to Dubai. I was here for about a year and a half, you know, working for the television, doing sound for them, and just being a fan. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna tell anyone that I do music, and I'm not gonna, you know, I don't want to step on people's toes. I guess it's just the Indonesian culture in me. You don't go into somebody's house and just suddenly put your feet up on the table, you know? So I was like, I want to find out what the music scene is like over here. And I got to know a lot of people during that first year and a half, just being fans of everyone's music and what they were doing across the board, whether it was metal, house music, techno, drum and bass, hip hop, didn't matter. If there was an event, I went to it. I enjoyed it, you know. And one thing that I noticed was that all the other music genres, their communities were very, very tight, and they were all working together and doing events together, and there was always a movement that they were doing. But when it came to the hip hop scene, maybe because the culture of hip hop is a very competitive one, so people's egos are a little bit bigger, no one was working together, because everyone was like, I'm the man, and what I'm doing is the big thing in Dubai, and the other rapper was like, no, I'm better, and I'm the big thing that's happening in Dubai. And I was like, okay, like, no one wants to work with each other. No one's doing anything. I need to find a way how people can get together and just get to know each other and bond. And I was like, well, what I did in high school seemed to work. Let me see if that'll work here. So I reached out to a couple of DJs over here who I thought were, pretty influential DJs. And I proposed this idea to them. I said, hey, why don't we get into a studio and work on a compilation for the hip hop scene here? I see the people in the metal scene doing it. Like, they're putting compilations out every other month and throwing events to launch these compilations, like people in the house music scene and the techno scene, like, they're all doing things. Like, how come we're not doing things here, And they were super busy that they couldn't find the time to do it. So I was like, you know what? Like, I really want to do this, and I've done it before. So I'm going to try and see if I can find people that will do this with me. At that time, Zara Soar had a radio show on Dubai Eye every Saturday, which was very, very popular because it was one of the only shows on radio, regular shows on radio. Yeah, like every Saturday, she would just focus 2 to 3 hours on the local music scene and either bring in musicians or just play, songs and talk about bands and stuff like that. So everyone was listening to it because it was like one of the only places in at that time where you could hear local music. Mind you, there was no social media at this time. All right. Like, we didn't have social media to, hear other people's music or whatever. So this is how you got to know bands and musicians, by listening to Zara's show. So I knew a lot of people were listening to her show, and her radio station was in the TV complex that I had worked at. So I was like, I just need to meet her. So I waited outside of the radio station, happened to bump into her, and I was just like, hey, my name is Luki. I have this concept that I want to do. Is it cool if I come on your radio show to sort of introduce this idea to people? And she was like, yeah, sure. She was super sweet. Brought me on her show. And then I basically said, called out to anyone that was involved in the hip hop scene in the UAE, let's work together and make a compilation. Whether you're a singer, a rapper, a producer, a DJ, whatever, like, let's just get together and do this. I then met another rapper producer named Jabbar, who lived in a villa in Barsha with his family, and he had converted their majlis outside into a studio. So it was separate from his main house, and it was perfect. He was like, hey, like, if you want to do this compilation, we could do this here. We can make as much noise as we want, because it's far enough away from my main house that it won't bother my family. And, he had a huge parking space in the front, big sand lot where people could park. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. So slowly in the summer of 2008, we started bringing all of these rappers to his studio in Barsha. And it just started as a hangout place, and, producers would come by and rappers would come by and producers would start playing beats. And then one rapper would be like, oh my God, I love this beat, and just start rapping to it. And, we'd be like, oh, okay, that sounds cool. Go in the booth and record that. And they would go and record it. And then somebody would be inspired, be like, oh my God, that sounds so great. Like, I want to go on the second verse. And then they would go in and record on the second verse. And then people started to hear of these recording sessions, and more people started to come. And then next thing you knew, we had 14, 15 people in that studio just hanging out, getting to know each other and making music, and that's kind of how the recipe started. It started as just this gathering of people from the hip hop scene and getting to know each other. And, we realized that we were a lot stronger when we were all together. We looked around and we were like, okay, I'm a sound engineer. He's a videographer. He is he works in marketing, so he knows how to do marketing. He's a graphic designer. He can do all the graphic work that we need to do. And we started working as a label, promoting our own music, creating our own events. And it's been a roller coaster of a ride since then.
Amazing. I wanted to say, what was your first song? How was that compilation?
The first song.
Did you release it?
Yeah, it's out. So that compilation we released in 2009.
Yeah.
We released it in Alpha Club, legendary club.
Yeah.
It was a sold out show. Everyone that came got a free copy of the album. And NMK sponsored the event. So they built a bigger stage in Alpha. They brought bigger speakers into Alpha for us. We couldn't get all 14 of us to play. So I think there was only like 9 or 10 of us that played that night. And to me, it's probably one of the most memorable events in this city, just because I know before that, nothing like that happened for the hip hop scene here. There was nothing like that, and this was the first time where, local hip hop people put on an event to promote their own release, and the whole city came to support it. It was ridiculous. It was unbelievable.
As a record label, or as an artist, what are the challenges that you find nowadays, whether that's MENA specific or not?
How fast things change. That is probably the biggest hurdle, because you can't control inspiration and creativity. You know what I mean? Like, I could force myself to make music and create every day, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be good necessarily. I don't think I would be confident releasing the stuff that I just force myself to make every day. So it does take a while after so many years, to find inspiration, to find things to say, and create when you've already created so much, and then the industry globally has changed and shifted. And the city that we live in is changing and shifting, that sometimes it's really, really hard, or most of the time, actually, it's really hard to stay, in times with things, and up to speed with what's going on. And I would say that's the biggest challenge.
Do you think you get enough support as an artist in the Middle East?
I think I have gotten more support here than I have anywhere else.
Uh-huh.
I understand that being a foreigner, especially one that writes in English, obviously I'm not going to get as much support as, you know, a local artist that you know speaks the local language, that writes in the local language and stuff. That's understandable. I got that. I've accepted that a long time ago when I faced the same challenges in Indonesia as a teenager. Mm-hmm. You know, could write a whole book on that. Like, I'm fine with that, you know, but I truly believe that we are spoiled in this country. We get so many more opportunities here than we do anywhere else in the world. And the circle here is so small that you just don't get these kinds of opportunities anywhere else in the world. You know? Yeah. So yeah, I all I can say is that I've gotten more support here than I have anywhere else, you know? So
you're quite prominent on social media as an artist. I wanted just to touch base and ask, do you have a strategy in place? I know that you mentioned to me a few weeks back, that you were trying things. As a label, as an artist, what have you found that works on social media?
It's social media to me is I find it really is a job. Like me personally, like Lukey, I'm a very, very private person. I really don't like I love the lockdown because like being at home with my dogs, barbecuing, like that's what I do. That's what I love to do. You know, even all the sports that I do, they're very, very like, I just do. They're one man things. Like it's things that I can do by myself. You know, I have a motorbike, but I'm not part of a motorbike club. I like riding my motorbike by myself. You know, I'm a very, very private guy. So social media to me is work. It's true. It's something that I use to promote my projects, you know, and I'm only active on social media when I have a campaign that I've developed for, you know, a specific project that I'm about to release. And with the recipe, I learned so much, you know, making music with the guys. But because we're a group, you know, there's a lot of compromises and stuff like that. I always wanted to, you know, do a whole campaign and create all this content for social media as part of that campaign. I've always wanted to do that. You know, I had this idea of how I wanted to launch music, and I couldn't do it with the recipe. So last year, when we decided to take a little bit of a break of making music together as a group and focus more on doing our individual music, it gave me the opportunity to finally put this plan into place that I had in my mind. And I was like, you know, let's see if this works or not. You know, the worst that can happen is that it doesn't work, you know, and I just, you know, try something else later. So it was fun creating the content for the social media campaign. Like I actually really enjoyed it, because it gave me, I don't know, it was like a newfound love for creating in a different way and expressing myself in a different way. It was super tiring, you know, really, really tiring creating all this other stuff and then uploading it and editing it, mixing it, you know, making sure that I had shot it in the right way, you know, and stuff, coming up with ideas and writing things and being consistent, being consistent with it was also really, really tough. But I learned so much from it, you know, and it definitely worked. You know, it worked how I wanted it to work. Did it work exactly how I wanted it to work? No, but it still gave me positive results that I am grateful for. And it surely taught me a lot that, you know, I'm going, you know, I might do some things differently the next time I have something to release.
Could I just ask anything that stood out? You said you learnt. Are there any tips that you could pass on that worked for you? I know it's subjective, but what did you find worked?
Social media is like, I didn't understand how much clout plays a huge part of it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go and do something ridiculous, right? But there definitely needs to be some sort of gimmick to your campaign, you know? And what I learned speaking to an artist in Indonesia, you know, because I respect this artist quite a lot, and they're whenever they launch something, it's so well planned out that, you know, I wanted to speak to them and get some feedback off them on what I was doing. And he explained it to me in such a great way, and I definitely carry this with me now when I'm going forward with my next releases. He's like, it's really just three umbrellas. You've got the bigger umbrella, which is the movement. Okay, you're creating a movement as a brand, as an artist. Yeah. Underneath that, you have your campaigns that fit under that movement. Yeah. These campaigns are for your individual releases, your songs, your albums, you know, could be, you know, if you got merchandise or whatever, you know, these are all your individual campaigns. But within those campaigns, you gotta have some sort of gimmick, you know, something that makes it stand out. You know, recently, for example, in one of his campaigns, he did I think he got the idea off of TikTok, where he uploaded a video on Instagram, and it was of his single, right? It was for his single to promote it. He rapped a few lines, and then he would be silent for the next few lines, and then he'd rap another few lines, and he'd be silent for the next few lines, and he'd rap another few lines and be silent. And he was like, come and perform with me. So when in the silent parts, you rap, you know, and we'll stitch the videos together so it looks like that you're performing with me, you know. And it was great. He got a lot of people that joined him on this challenge, and you know, this content sort of created itself. But it was this cool little gimmick that helped push his campaign and his thing at that time.
That's amazing. That's really good.
Yeah.
I was like, you got me on the edge of my seat. I was just listening here thinking, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you know, and now everyone's jumping on the whole TikTok challenges, and everyone's doing like dance challenges to their songs and stuff like that, you know, but it's popular now. But the people that first started doing dance challenges for TikTok for their songs, like that was their little gimmick to their campaign, you know? So yeah, I guess that's what I've learned. And that's what I'm carrying with me going forward, that it's making me think, like, what is my larger movement as a brand, as an artist? And when I create these campaigns for my releases, you know, what can I do that really makes it stand out to what everyone else is doing, you know?
That's brilliant.
And it's a challenge, but at the same time, it's exciting because it's forcing me to think of something creative, you know, to do something out of the box.
So I could carry on talking for ages with you, Lucky. It's been fascinating. Just wanted to ask you a couple of last questions. What advice or help have you had that's shaped you in your music career?
Just to love it, like love the journey. You know, people get so stuck on the goals that they forget to enjoy the journey. And when someone pointed that out to me and was just like enjoy the journey, man. Like, think about it. Where you are now is where you wanted to be 5 years ago. The things that you're doing now is what you 5 years ago dreamt of doing. You know, don't forget that. And don't be so caught up in the future that you forget to enjoy what's happening to you now, you know, and the struggles that you go through along the way are what make it worthwhile, you know, or are the things that you're going to look back at and be like, man, like that was a lot of fun, you know? And you don't want to think that and be like, damn, I wish I was just more in the moment and enjoyed that more when those things happened, you know? So yeah, just enjoy it. Enjoy the journey.
Fantastic. Lucky, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. As I said just now, it's fascinating. I even learned some things, which is brilliant. Where can people find you if they wanted to reach out to you?
I would say social media when I've got my next campaign going. Yeah, I mean, I'm always on social media watching what people are saying. You can catch me anywhere at Swerte MC. That's SWERTEMC. You know, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, and yeah, just hit me up. You know, I love meeting new people and just getting into conversations with them through voice notes on Instagram, you know. Yeah, hit me up.
Lucky, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Toby.
That's all for today's episode of the Man and Music Show. Thank you for listening, and I hope you got a lot of valuable information from it. If you liked this episode, then please make sure you subscribe to the show on iTunes, and if you could leave a review, it really helps with the growth of the podcast. Lastly, if you're a musician or music producer and want to join the region's thriving online music community and learning hub, then head on over to our Lab Musica Facebook page. Until next time, take care, keep safe.